friends, it's Deanna Williston with Our Blooming Catholic Life, and it is Ash Wednesday, and I wanted to talk to you a little bit about Lent, and then we're going to talk a little bit about almsgiving part of Lent, so just hold on for 1 second. So yesterday we talked about the books I am using for Lent. You'll see I added one. I did make one journal, so what I did was got one little journal book, and this is just a cheapy one from the grocery store, which is funny, that's from the grocery store. It comes with a ribbon, it comes with this nice elastic band to hold it shut, and even a little spot for your pen. Because remember I talked about, I'm not sure that all these books can be written in. Yikes! That's a huge thing for me. So, you know, Lent, and maybe I'll come back and use this every Lent. And so I wrote down my plan of what I'm going to do. And then I started, what did I do? On February 15th, I watched the Father Calloway video for the intro. I didn't really read the intro. I went back and read it yesterday. So then I liked this quote. So I wrote the 1, 2, 3, 4 from over here, right? The 1, 2, 3, 4 as to what each book was. And you could abbreviate it, do different colors, whatever works for you. And I wrote what jumped out at me about each of them. And then I might do that the whole way through. I really liked this method. Now I know as we go further on, there's going to be discussion questions in the book. And so I may address every question. I might just address the ones that jump out at me, but I'm really making this personalized for me. It worked for that one night. I will say my husband was a little surprised when I wanted to read him a story about a tree last night. And so he actually watched the video. He doesn't normally watch my videos. He watched it and he's like, oh, she did say she was going to do this, that she'd like to read this book to me every night. And maybe he'll take a turn reading. He was excited about some of the topics. Maybe Last Night in the Tree wasn't his favorite. And I will say the content on that story of the tree, the opening book, she does talk about some racism she experienced as a small girl. And I don't think she said explicitly, but I feel like the place where her mom worked might have been like a mental institution. So just so you know that. It doesn't explicitly say that, and so I think even if you're reading it to kids, if you're a person who can read and adapt things on the fly, remember I used to read to my son from my mystery novels, like the Cat Who and stuff, but I would change it and emphasize the part of the cat in the book and cut out any of the murder or mayhem that I was reading. I don't really read those anymore, but I was really good at adapting that book. I got that skill from my dad. He used to do that with campfire stories so that I would be able to sleep at night. So another opportunity for Lent, and I'm going to put it in the comments below. Go ahead and check them out. It's going to be in the description. The Franciscan Sisters TOR out in Toledo, Ohio, are going to have a free Lenten retreat towards the end of March. And it's completely free. Of course, you can donate. I did it last year. It was completely virtual. It was so amazing. I hold up, because you can watch it asynchronously, stop and start whatever you need to. But that day I told my husband I needed the day to myself, and I legit holed up in the living room by myself with snacks and a big cozy blanket and really went into the retreat. And I'll say it was amazing. It was beautiful. And so I'm very excited for this year's retreat. Again, it's virtual, so you can do it from anywhere. They have some other offerings going on. So get out there and check it out. Absolutely donate if you can to help these beautiful sisters bring the message of Christ, especially to the students at Steubenville. But really, I mean, they pray for us all. So it's a beautiful apostolate, and I hope you get into it. So I wanted to talk about, yesterday we talked about praise and your relationship with God and doing some study and some personal improvement. But let's not forget, it's like prayer sacrifice, right? This is not a New Year's resolution, people. It is a sacrifice to make ourselves pleasing to God so that He can help us grow. Like, I can't stop complaining on my own. Hopefully, if I pray hard enough to God, He's really going to open that book up and that up to me. And I will say this book does remind us about the Israelites grumbling at Meribah and Massah. They didn't just ask the Lord and trust Him. They grumbled and complained until He did something about it. And it didn't work out in the long run, right? It worked out in the short term, but not so much in the long run for them. And so if we want that long-term result, that long-term abundant life, and I'm not talking prosperity gospel, I'm talking long-term with God forever and ever in heaven. If we want that, we need to pray to him so that he will open this up to us and really give us his help, because we can't do it on our own. Okay, so almsgiving, some of you may choose to donate directly. I was really moved with the plight of those in Texas right now. So many of them have rolling power outages, they have record temps, their houses aren't built for this. People were making like room warmers out of candles, and that's scaring me even more on a different level. So I thought I'd come up with an easy charity. This is actually a Martha Stewart pattern, and it's a mitten pattern. This is the man size, if you're wondering why it's so big. And it's fun. It's a fun little shape to do because you just follow the directions and you're not 100% sure it's going to work out, and then it does. And I feel that it really talks about our faith journey as well. So here's the magic. This is actually the, I think it's the left-handed mitten. So you're going to fold that over when you're done. You can see this is almost all knit stitch. So it just ends up being garter stitch. And then look, then there you have your mitten. It's such an unusual design, right? But it's really fun. So there are some cast off. So every now and then I think this is my cast on. Not 100%. This may be my cast on. And then I knit this, and then look, I'm going to make some little increases here, little decreases here, cast off a bunch. Then I have to cast it back on, knit bunch. See how it works? So we're casting off and casting on. That's not terribly hard. I'm going to show you that. I do want to show you the finishing though quick, because you're probably already wondering how you're going to put it together. It is a crochet binding to put it together in the end. And so when we get to our edges, it's going to tell you to slip the last stitch. And you can see what a nice little edge that's given us. See this? It almost looks like a crochet edge on the edge. And that's what makes it super easy to crochet our binding. So the last stitch of every row in this entire mitten says put the yarn in front and slip as if to purl, and that's why it makes that nice edge. You can see I goofed up this one right here, and so it's not going to be easy. So when I do this, I'm just putting my crochet hook under those two, just like you normally would when you crochet. Grab one, pull it through. Right now I've got 2 loops, yarn over, and see how my hook is going to pull it through these 2. Ta-da! And this is how we knit it together. Like I say, if you don't do a boo-boo like that, it's super easy. But even with that mistake, look, it's going to be pretty much hidden. It's just there to make it easier for you. You see, you can't really tell that I messed that up, and nobody's going to notice that anyway. So you just go around, and it's going to get easier. If you've never crocheted before, this is an easier thing to do. Because when you start crocheting, you're worried about the end of your rows. Is your starting chain too tight? And this, you don't have to worry about any of that. You will notice if your stitches are too tight, right, your mitten's going to look like this. So then you just loosey-goosey, like you're going into a cloud. And sometimes knitting stuff really loose is actually more relaxing than knitting something super tight. And when you get to the corners, this is the one edge of the mitten here, and there's only a little bit left here, see? I'm going to actually put 2 stitches in that corner, but you don't have to. I don't even think that the pattern calls for that. That's just the way I kind of ad-lib it. And when I get to the edge of this, I'm just going to sew those in. Now the pattern actually calls for it if you choose, so it's an option, to do this edging in one color and then do the thumb edging in another, and that's going to make the thumb really stand out, so you're going to know that this is the righty mitten and the other one's the left. Yeah, definitely a man's glove. And this is 100% untreated wool. I am using Ella Rae Classic. Why I use this yarn? Untreated wool is fire resistant, and that's good if you have like a hardcore homeless person who's living in an encampment. They may have an open fire. Anybody with open fire, 100% wool is going to be your best choice because it's fire retardant. A lot of your acrylics do really nasty things. If you don't believe me, get a candle and take just a little bit of your yarn and see what happens to it. Hold it out there with tongs. And you'll see what happens to it. And treated wool, that makes it washable, the treating, but that changes the characteristics of the yarn in regards to fire. Now, wool also will stay warm when it's wet. Another beautiful thing. So the dangers are, of course, you don't want to throw this in a washing machine and dryer. You're going to end up with a child's mitten. But you would end up with a super, super warm child's mitten because all these are going to get not only smaller, but the fibers are really going to go together. So as you wear it and get it wet and wear it again, you're going to see the texture is going to get a little fuzzier, but it's actually going to get warmer. So I have a little pair of these, and they're great most days. And when they're not, I wear like a thin runner's glove underneath, and whoo, then it is warm like you would not believe. So I'm just going to show you a couple stitches. I also have found a hat pattern that works perfectly with these mittens. Where did I throw the hat? Oh, it's under the pattern over here. So it's just the same stitch, and it's a men's hat. And this has actually worked as a square. A lot of our previous patterns we have worked as a square, and you can see I'm sewed it up here and then just gathered the top, and that makes a great man's hat that's going to match our mittens. I may even throw a little super loose edging of that silver around the edge here, just to tie it in. Okay, so I'm going to show you just a couple of stitches here. You can see this, I think, pretty well. So this is our basic knit stitch is all that we're doing. And I want to show you what the thing that we're going to do at the end. So we're going to bring our yarn to the front at the end of every row. I'm not at the end of the row. I'm just doing this to show you. Bring your yarn in front and slip it as if to purl. So when I knit, remember when I was knitting, I was putting my needle in here, right? Into the front and from the left. When I purl, I put my needle in the front still, but I'm going under from the right. And so I'm going to slip that. And so when I turn to work the other side, you can see it's going to make that our cute, it pulls off, our cute little edge that we have around our mitten that makes it easy to knit. And here is that cute little stitch. It's right there. There's our little V that we need for crocheting. I hope you can see it on the camera. And when it says to bind things off, again, that's going to be super easy. We're going to just do a couple. So when you bind something off your edge, I think we've done this before, friends. We're going to go in, right? You're going to make 2 stitches. You're just going to knit 2 stitches. Then you're going to pull one. You want this to be nice and loose. Pull it over, and now you're just left with 1. Again, we're going to knit. And they're nice and loose. If they're too tight, that top edge is going to be like crazy tight. If they're too loose, you're going to know it too. And you're like, well, what happens if I make it too tight or too loose? And I need to take it out. It's a little tricky, but you can see the old stitch is still here. Okay? So there's the new one. I'll take him out. So we're going for the old stitch, and you need to go under to find the old stitch. Old stitch. And then should be this one left. And remember, this one's a little crazy because I think it's the one I purled. Let's see. Just pull it out. Oh, there it is. And so we're back to our original row. Now, how do I cast on? When I'm in the middle of the mitten and I need to cast on, I tend to do a slingshot. So, see how I made a figure 8? I'll do it again quick. This is actually how I learned to cast on to start with. And then I'm going to go shoop and shoop. Pull it tight. And look, there's a stitch. So I'll do it again. Oops, I'm going off camera, aren't I? See how that figure 8? And I'm going under. It's like those children's cat's cradles games, and I think that's why I like it. Again, one more time. That's what it looks like. Under. Ah! And it fell right off. And that's going to happen, friends, and that's okay. Look, I just do it again. And then I count them. Okay, I have 3. Now, when I start knitting, that's not the way I cast on. When I'm starting knitting, I will cast on this way. I'm going to go put my loop on, right? My original loop, which is just a slip knot. And I'm going to go in between these and lift it up and over and on. So I'm going to go between 2 stitches, yarn over, pull it through, pull it out, and pull it on. Between, over, through, on. Between, over, through, on. And there's cute little poems about a sheep jumping a fence and all kinds of stuff to help you do that. So that's all the stitches you're going to need to make these mittens and hat. And it's super duper fun. Again, I'm going to put the link to the pattern below. It is a Martha Stewart pattern. It's free. There's a women's, a men's, and a child. So for the hat to make it to match, the men's hat is just, all I did was I left a long tail when I started. I cast on 74. I knit for 10 inches, and I cast it off. I sewed this big seam up the back with that long tail, and then I gathered it, so I put it in each of the stitches around the top and pulled them tight, and then I just kind of sewed it back and forth to make sure that hole was closed. Some people like leaving the hole a little open in a woman's hat so she could have a ponytail at the top. That's totally up to you. And any method you sew this, you really can't go wrong. You can see what it looks like on the inside where I sewed the seam. Okay, friends, so that's it. If you're doing a woman's hat or a child's hat, of course, you're going to cast on less. And I may try and look that up for you. If anybody knows those counts, go ahead and put them, or you can just try them on your own head or grab, a child off the street and measure their So that is one way that you can give. If you want to actually have some value added to give to the homeless or anything, or you could even just, people were tying scarves out to trees. Sometimes they do that. You could easily get like a little hook or a little Ziploc bag, put these in a Ziploc bag and put them out, label them and put them out and make sure that they're distributed to the poor. Of course, if you're near Baltimore or you would like to mail them to them, my favorite place to donate to is the Franciscan Center. They are an amazing place and they serve all of Baltimore City and County, all the residents. They've been going to nursing homes, senior housing developments. They've been going any seniors that they know of. The National Guards even help them. Like, everybody's helping them. They are the hub for Baltimore during this pandemic. They will go out to the homeless camps to take them water, hygiene kits, nice warm things, food. They are an amazing place. So if you would like to donate to the Franciscan Center, I'm going to put that in the comments below. I say comments, sorry, in the description below. God bless you, friends. Thanks for watching. As always, like, share, and subscribe, and this video is going to reach more and more people. More people are going to have nice, warm things in this horrible weather snap. God bless you, friends. Have a happy Lent.